Welcome to Pandora's Box. This is episode, I don't know, maybe 6. First 10. We start with the best. And I've got a good friend on, I'm allowed to say that.
Of course.
Do you want to introduce yourself?
I'm Kamil. I've known Piero for a few weeks now.
Too long.
Yeah, felt like a lot longer. But yeah, I'm a professional coach, been coaching for the last 5 years and excited to be on here and open up Pandora's box.
Amazing. That's a nice intro. I like that intro. I think what's cool about you is you started in, we're both from London, and you started in the city of London as a lawyer, right? Well, going through quite a corporate job. I've got a bunch of corporate buddy friends that I always kind of peer pressure and make feel shit because they're still in that corporate life, and I think some of them want to break out. And you're someone, I haven't fully broken out yet, but you're someone that has done that. Can you talk to me about how did you actually get into coaching initially, and what kind of prompted that transition?
Yeah, definitely. It's interesting because coaching was never on my radar. I didn't even know about the profession. I didn't actually know it existed for a long time. And law was this thing that during my schooling days, I thought it was what I wanted. I had this idea in my head of being a solicitor or a barrister. Funny you say that because there was a point I wanted to be a doctor too.
There you go. I'm Indian. I could say this. I live it too.
But then I went from doctor to then wanted to be a lawyer, and part of me felt like, oh, this makes sense. It just felt very in tune with some of the skills that I had and what I was interested in, because I did want to make a difference in some way. So I went to university, studied, and I wasn't really thinking too much about my future at this point.
Yeah.
I was actually in a place where I thought, I have the rest of my life to figure this out, so I just want to enjoy my university days and take it from there. But when I graduated and really had to start being intentional about what I wanted, I said, yeah, I'm just going to follow the legal route. But
you look disgusted. You don't have to look so disgusted.
Well, with the legal profession?
Yeah.
Look, my experience and what I'm about to share has no bearing on other people's experiences who have gone into the profession. Of course, this is just
toe
my
that
experience.
line. You're doing great.
But when I got into the field, I was working this entry-level job, and in the process of getting a training contract with a firm in London, or in other parts of the UK as well. But when I was working this job and actually immersing myself in the process, I realized fairly quickly that this was just not the path for me. The kind of work I was doing, the lifestyle I wanted to live, how I wanted to be of service to the world, it just didn't align with who I am. But that was quite scary because I'd spent all this time trying
money.
Time, money, energy, everything into thinking, this is going to be the path I'm going to follow. And suddenly, this isn't working. So I have no clue what to do because I didn't actually have another option in mind at this point. I didn't actually know. The future was complete. You know what? I remember this day. I was walking into the office, and this is when I realized law isn't what I want. And I just remember seeing my entire future as this cloudy thing. I was thinking, what am I doing? I have no idea what is going on in my life. So it was quite a lost place. But in that lost place, I was also in a point in my life when I was getting into personal development. I began to explore spirituality. I began to question some of the more important questions that we can, neglect, like why am I here? What do I want? How do I want to live my life?
Why do you think most people just never ask those questions? What do you think people do ask them and just don't do anything about it?
Well, I like the example of what happened during COVID as one potential possibility, because during that time when everyone suddenly had to slow down, a lot of people finally did start to look within more and question things. Because outside of that, they were so caught up in their day-to-day, in the autopilot, in just following all of the different routines that we can put in place, go to work, take care of the kids, do this, do that.
Yeah.
So you can almost forget these deeper questions, or maybe even not realize that it's something worth considering because you don't see another option in that place in your life. It's just, this is my reality, and I don't see another reality available.
You said you got quite into the personal development. Was it like a specific thing that happened to you, or you just stumbled across it on YouTube, or what do you think sparked that journey?
I'd say for most of my life I was always fairly introspective and philosophical, but I'd say a big part of, in hindsight, looking back, I can see a big part of it was going through early trauma. When I was really young, just 13 years old, my father passed away, and I had no clue how to actually navigate that, so I just buried it completely. I just completely had no clue how to process and hold all of the grief, pain, anger, trauma that came out of that. So a lot of my life I just ran from it. And at that point in time when I was unfulfilled in my job, still not over the loss of my father, it was just a real period of needing answers. And in that place is when I started to just look a bit closer into myself and also into these topics like personal development, spirituality.
And Lion King's a film that really relates to you, that you really relate with. In what ways, like how?
100%. Well, I don't know if you can see it, but there's literally a tattoo of Simba right here. And growing up, I used to watch the film all the time, right? So initially it was like, oh, just a young kid watching some Disney film, how nice. But as I got older and started to actually understand so many things this film was pointing to, there was so much wisdom, spiritual truth in the story arcs in that movie, particularly with Simba. So I could actually go through a few different scenes. Yeah. So a classic scene, which is, I'd say, for me, one of the most powerful ones. Simba, he's a young, happy kid, full of energy, full of life, full of vibrance. I felt like that when I was younger. I was this kid that was, ask any of my family members or close friends when I was younger, I was like this mischievous little kid that was just so full of vibrance and life and zest. And, he likes to get up to no good and things like that. And then tragedy strikes, right? Mufasa passes away. No one saw it coming. And even the scene when that happened, it was very similar to what happened to me when I actually found my father. Because I was the one who found him when I went back home. So it was so eerie when I watched that scene, in terms of Simba's literally walking and he sees Mufasa and he's doesn't know how to deal with this, right? He's just telling him to get up. And that's literally what happened to me. And he runs away, right? He runs, Scar tells him to leave, and he runs, and the next few years of Simba's life is almost him being lost. Yes, there's the whole Hakuna Matata, no worries thing, but he's still in a place in his life when he's lost. Deep down, he's lost. And I felt like that, because after those years, I just focused on, just distracting myself externally with so many things. It could have been, parties or drinking, women, all these things. And
it's to kind of fill this void.
Yeah, to fill the void, exactly. And as the journey goes on, there's that scene where Rafiki comes to find Simba. And Simba's like, oh, I know you. And then he ends up chasing Rafiki through the jungle. And they come out into this clearing. And in the clearing, Rafiki says, look into the water. And then Simba looks in. And initially he just sees his reflection. He's like, oh, it's my reflection. But then he sees Mufasa in the water. Now, the line that is said there is that he lives in you. Only later on, I started to have this interpretation of that scene where there is no separation between any one person. We may appear separate in this reality, but it's almost like an illusion. So the loss of my father, the loss of anyone, the loss of any loved one, doesn't mean they're actually gone or lost, because separation is the illusion. So on a deeper level, what I see for myself is that there's a oneness and interconnectedness that our minds can't really comprehend, but that scene really sums it up. Separation is the illusion, and he lives in you. After that scene happens, Simba's then in this field, and classic scene, the clouds appear, and Mufasa's in the clouds. And he says the line, remember who you are. Now, it might just be saying, oh, he's the king, so remember who you are. Like, but if I was looking at it deeper, which is how I see it for myself now, is that there's a remembering of who we are before we forgot. All of the false layers, all of the false identities, all of the stories we've picked up over time that has led us to not really living in the truest expression of who we are. So whenever I watch that scene, I get goosebumps. Even before I knew before the meaning I give it now, it always stirred something in me, and I couldn't quite explain why. But that scene for me is like coming back to
your true self?
Yeah, in essence, yes. Yeah. And in that waking up, right, when that scene happens, you see it, Simba begins to wake up. He begins to say, yeah, this is who I am, this is why I'm here, and I'm going to live back in alignment with my truth. So he goes back, he takes his place, and I love that scene towards the end where he's walking up Pride Rock, and it's just the most like inspiring scenes I've ever seen. But yeah, that's like the hero's journey. It's a deeply spiritual journey, but one of the reasons I love this film and everything about it is it connects so much to what I believe in and take a stand for.
What do you believe in? What do you take a stand for?
Well, everything that I'm doing, but in the last 5 years, I'm seeing that throughout the planet, you can call it, I call it it's like a third world war. And that third world war is the war on consciousness.
There you go.
And that war on consciousness is essentially, there's a waking up happening. People are becoming more self-aware. They're becoming more connected to their spiritual existence. Waking up to love, to oneness, to seeing that there is no division between anyone, we're all one. But there's the other side, which is, you could say, the egoic side, which is still living in fear and insecurity, which creates so much of the division. So this war on consciousness is like a battle that's happening on, let's say, a different level, not classically that you see with typical wars. And what I'm taking a stand for is helping to raise that collective consciousness of the planet, where people become more in touch with their true selves, coming closer to love. I believe deep down we are all these loving beings. We just don't always see it.
How do you take someone from being in such a, because you're a coach, and I think there's a lot of people, probably, I mean, even me at times, I think a lot of people listening to this, they sometimes are in like a fearful state and are always in this expansive, positive mindset. How do you take someone through your coaching practice from being in more of a state of fear and being closed off to a state of connection and oneness and positivity, expansion? Because that's not easy, but you've done it before for a few people.
There's a saying, it's like simple but not easy. And of course there's a whole process that happens, but if I were to really condense what happens, when someone's living in a delusion, they don't always realize it's a delusion. But we all have different forms of it, right? All of us have our own personal things that we're feeding, buying into, things that we're treating as truth, even though perhaps it might not be. And these are all these different delusions that we have, or illusions, you could call it. And in this process that I can go through with people, they essentially begin to become a lot better at seeing illusions for what they are. They begin to become a lot better at noticing and identifying and catching so many things that they're making true, but perhaps don't need to be. And when that happens, it's like clouds parting. It's like something effervescent, like there's like a melting away of those fears, of those doubts, of those limitations they might place on themselves, because there isn't really any limitation apart from, like if I was to blow up right now, that's not physically possible. But the limitations we create in our mind.
What's an example of a limitation someone might create?
Okay, so as we were talking about earlier, let's say there is someone who is working a 9 to 5, maybe they've done it for a few years, and to them, they just don't see running a business as something that's realistic. Or they might think it's not for them, or you have to be a certain kind of person to do that, and they're not that kind of person. And those stories they never started off that way, right? It was something that was built up over time. So that's one form of an example of a limitation, where someone might be feeding the idea that they can't run a business, even if they want to.
I think it's quite hard because when you're in the corporate world or corporate life, and I'm saying this from having been there myself, you're constantly, your job labels you and you constantly label yourself. And so it's kind of this reinforcing loop that like, I am expert, like I used to work at Bloomberg. So it's like, I'm a sales rep at Bloomberg. And then you kind of reinforce yourself as this person in this position, in this role for this company. And then to become put yourself into an expansive mind and to be like, oh, I'm an entrepreneur, it's different to detach that. And I think a lot of people struggle with that because, you know, if you just have that reinforcing, you're this person, you're this person, you're this person, that's what goes through your mind. And that's why I think it's so important to, you know this, just surround yourself with positive, uplifting people. And if you can't get access to positive, uplifting people, the beauty of the internet is you can access content like hopefully this, you know, that can help people and actually bring up your vibration. Because for me, I'm really passionate about who I spend my time with, and I'm really proud that I've made such an incredible network here in a fairly short period of time. But even when I didn't have that, I would surround myself with books, lectures, online podcasts, videos, and content, let's say, that would become like the 5 people I surround myself with the most, because you become that average. And if you don't have those people around you, you can still bring up your vibration by consuming content and having them become kind of your best friend. Do you think that's a fair approach?
100%, because I do remember I felt the same. Like I never saw myself becoming a business owner. I thought, oh, you know, that's just something some people do, but I don't see myself doing that. And I remember when I was questioning everything, I had a couple of people around me who were building businesses, and it helped me to see a different possibility. It helped me to see what else could be normal for someone rather than this. But as you were saying, I wasn't surrounded by it, so I also began to research, look into other examples, because I wanted to see, like, is this also available to me too, and not just for someone other than me.
When did it really start to kick off, and like, did you just quit your job one day, or what was the transition like?
So when I discovered coaching, I felt the calling, I felt the pull. I said, yeah, it was like discovering something on some level I've always done. I just wasn't aware of it.
Yeah.
But I enrolled in this course. I was still working my job at the time, and COVID hit literally around the same time. So the office was going to go virtual. I remember sitting in the office before this happened. I was at my desk. I distinctly remember this, and I was sitting there, and there was this strange feeling of, it just felt like my soul was leaving my body, like the deepest unfulfillment I could describe. It was
really?
Like, I can't do this anymore. I was like, this is just, I can't stay here anymore. So I was seeing this in my job, and then I saw that I was feeling this calling to become a coach, and I just handed in my resignation. And this was before I'd actually set anything up. So I left my job and I just gave everything into becoming a coach. I had some savings at the time, and also the support of some people around me. So that made a difference in those initial building phases.
Yeah.
But of course, I know that if someone's, supporting a family, they've got responsibilities, I wouldn't say just leaving a job straight away is what everyone should do. Like, it's about looking at what's going to serve you best where you are right now. for me, it served me best for where I was at that point. But I left, and I just committed to coaching, learning the craft, studying, hiring my own coaches in the process, and just giving everything into that process.
That's really cool. And now, I know you host some events with friends here, and you've got a really cool network in Dubai too. Some of them are mutual. You hang out with big entrepreneurs all the time, big content creators, big other big coaches, other big 7-8 figure entrepreneur, 9-figure as well. What are the key differences in their mindset versus the mindset of someone, if you remember, because I know it's a few years ago, in when you're working in the law firm? And this isn't to hate on the corporate world, but just to kind of show like the difference in perspective and outcome, or perspective and mindset.
A big part of it comes down to identity. If I were to sum that up, it's like how you see yourself and how you see your world. So a lot of these entrepreneurs who have built 7, 8, 9-figure businesses, their internal state, their internal identity sees that as normal now. Right? They just see it as, this is who I am and this is what I'm doing. It's just who I am. Whereas someone in a corporate world who perhaps may want that but doesn't see a way there, they're not awake to who they are. I think if I was to sum up, the biggest limitation anyone can really have is just not being awake to who they are. Because if you're awake to who you are in your internal identity, you naturally operate in the world from that place. So starting from that place is what feeds everything else. I call it who you're being in the world.
Who would you say you're being in the world?
I'm being, right, actually, you know what? Okay, so I'm glad you asked that. So I'm going to set context into this first. A couple of years ago, I went through a process with one of my previous coaches where we created something called my document. And a document there's a whole process that goes into it, but it's a set of declarations of who you are and who you're creating yourself to be. It's not about perfection. It's not about being it all the time, but it's something that sets an extremely strong intention of who you are and who you're creating yourself to be. Now, for me to create my document, I had to unearth a lot of the self-judgment that I'd been carrying. Judging myself in so many ways, judging myself for not being enough, judging myself for my voice, judging myself for how I am in relationships, like all these judgments were there. So as I brought awareness to these judgments, I went through a process of deep self-forgiveness to essentially melt away those judgments and allow something new to emerge out of them. That new declaration to emerge out of them was a very intuitive process where I had to really listen to myself to see what my declaration would be out of that judgment. So I created this document, and it's something I practice every day. It's something I work on integrating every day. So when you ask me who I am, what came to mind is actually just saying my document. Would you like me to say it?
Go for it. Oh, no, because I'm interested myself. Okay. I think other people are interested too. Because the reason I say that is because, firstly, I think some people are like, what the fuck is this document? 2, it's really cool to kind of experience the inner workings of someone like yourself who's a successful entrepreneur and like a successful coach, and a coach that helps with a lot of great testimonials, has helped a lot of people have the transformation that they want. When I say my document, don't make it about me. Okay. So what I mean by that is anyone who's listening, you as well, like I've done this when I've had other people speak the document. Whatever I'm about to speak and say, look at how there's something for you to see in it within yourself. Okay. Like, hear it as if you're hearing it about yourself. That's one of the most powerful places we can listen from. I'll try. Okay. I am divinity. I am that I love myself and there is no other. I am where I need to be at all times. I am happy, at peace, and eternally grateful. I am that my life is a breeze. I am that I listen with the presence of God. I am the creative potential of the universe.
I am that I transcend limitation, now and always. I am the most loving partner. I am the most loving son, brother, and friend. I am generous and live to serve. I'm the creator of remarkable relationships. I'm committed, focused, patient, and present. I am that I make decisions with ease and clarity. I'm quick-witted and possess extreme intellect. I am that my body is the perfect vessel and I treat it like an athlete. I am that my voice is like music to others. I am that I dance and sing like no one is watching. I'm grounded masculinity. I'm attractive and radiant. I'm an exceptional performer. I am a world-class coach. I am a money magnet. I'm a master of enrollment. I am coachable and willingly ask for help. I am that I have a steel backbone. I am bold, audacious, and no BS. I'm the embodiment of integrity. I'm an excellent communicator and speak my truth. I'm fully expressed, open, and always myself. I am that my worth is infinite and beyond measure. I am playful and exude the energy of fun. I'm inherently safe at all times. I am that I desire nothing and have nothing to prove. I am that I have the Midas touch. This is who I am and who I remember myself to be.
That's really cool. Thank you for sharing that. Because I appreciate that's probably very personal. Is that something that you say, let's say internalize every day? Because it's almost it's an affirmation in a sense. Is that something that you do every single day, twice a day, 3 times a day? Do you constantly think about it?
There's a difference between affirmations as you hear about them and a declaration, because the declaration only came about through the self-forgiveness process. Because otherwise it's like just plastering something. Like, there's an analogy of putting like frosting on shit. If you put frosting on shit, the shit's still there.
Yeah.
So the declaration only came about because the shit, which was the self-judgment, was forgiven, dropped, and then something new could then fill those foundations. But in terms of the daily practice, yes, reciting it is one thing, but not just reciting it, but actually feeling each declaration as you're reciting it. But it's not about reciting it. Otherwise, you're just going to be reading off some, you know,
you have to truly believe it.
It's not about reciting it. It's about actually seeing how every day, how can I live my document today? How can I be my document today? How can I find opportunities and ways for me to actually live this, as opposed to it just being something I speak? So I don't treat this as like I'm my document all the time, because I also have my moments when I'm out of alignment with my document, and it's important to then be forgiving with myself. So I see it as a mountain with no top. So it's not about getting somewhere, it's just seeing it as a mountain with no top. There are always ways you can continue to be your document.
I just had this thought of potentially why I think it also works. You know about the reticular activation system in the brain? So in our brains we have this thing called RAS, reticular activation system. You can look at it on Wikipedia. It's essentially our selective focus. So I'll give an example. I ride a motorbike, and because I ride a motorbike and I like motorbikes, whenever I'm out and about, my brain will see other motorbikes. I'll pick up, I'll be like, oh, that's a cool bike. Whereas if you have no interest in motorbikes, you'll never look at them. Same for cars. If you're a girl and you're watching this, maybe you love Prada, and you're walking down the street and you see a girl wearing a Prada dress. Your eyes, you spot that, your focus goes there. Why is that? It's because it's something you care about. It's the selective focus in the brain. What just came to me now is I think the reason, maybe one of the reasons why this document, this declaration, affirmation, I know you don't like that word, but why putting that out there, that intention every day, really serves a lot of people, is because you're reminding yourself, I need to focus on this. And then your brain subconsciously or consciously focuses on these opportunities. So for example, one of the things you said is, I think you said I dance like no one's watching, right? Or like you said, when the opportunity is there, I dance like no one's watching. Now, if you're given the opportunity to dance like no one's watching, your brain will remember and focus on, fuck it, I'm gonna dance, right?
Yes, it's like a North Star.
Hmm.
So you have that crystal clear focus on who you are and who you want to be.
Hmm.
So imagine, this is the thing, I've been practicing my document.
But also, what's good with your document is it's not an end state. And I think a lot of people, I don't really have one right now, in all honesty. But I've been through, like there's been times in my life where I've like had like this, like a document or something that I've been reciting every day. And I've seen lots of content out there that's like, you know, I have a net worth of 10 million, or I have this, or I have this. And it's like an objective thing, which is, it's not actually your being. It's not actually who you are. It's more of an outcome. And you need to be outcome independent to actually get what you want out of life. That's my view.
I agree. There's a, if we're not essentially chasing and seeking and trying to grasp something all the time, we just naturally operate differently. Like, you can even make this very practical. Like,
Go for it.
in business, if you're wanting to grow the business and you're coming from the seeking, desperate place, then you're going to put people off, right? Potential clients will smell you a mile away, and they won't want to work with you. Relationships, if you're always coming from a very desperate, needy, seeky place where you want content within yourself, again, people get put off. So you can see it just applying in like day-to-day things that we see all the time.
But it's really hard because when you are in a place of lack, but you need to act like you're in abundance, that's, I argue, one of the hardest things to do. What are some things that someone can do or like implement in their lives in order to maybe unlock that or achieve that? Or do you maybe have like a story of coaching someone or giving some wisdom or something like that that hopefully can help one of the listeners or viewers?
Okay. There's an understanding that, okay, there's a guy called Sydney Banks. I've learned so much from his outlook, and he's passed away now. But there was one of his quotes that said, "If the only thing that people ever learned was that they didn't have to be afraid of their experience, that alone would change the world." Now, if we're looking at that quote, not being afraid of our experience and that would change the world, how I see that is, if I'm not needing my thoughts and feelings in any given moment to be different, that's one of the most powerful things, because I'm not then in conflict with my experience. When we're struggling with lack or fear or any of these things, there's like a conflict that's happening where we're not okay with what we're feeling, so we're trying to change it. And if I'm not okay with that feeling, it's going to cause me to do so much. Like I might turn to drinking or women or drugs or trying to distract myself or whatever it could be, because I'm trying to change my feelings. But if I can see that anything I'm thinking or feeling doesn't require my resistance or judgment or need to be changed, that's where the real grace is, because I'm no longer a victim of my experience in that moment.
That's pretty powerful. I always like spending time with you and talking to you, because I don't know how else to phrase this. It's gonna come across so homo, but like in my head you're like a warrior of light, and I mean that in like the nicest, genuine way possible. Because whenever you talk, it's always like about like positivity and radiance and like just helping people, and I think that's really cool. And I meet a lot of people here too that are like, I'll be real, I meet a lot of coaches, and I don't feel they actually care about the person's success. I feel they just care about collecting cash, which frustrates me at times. It's not, yes, you're helping someone, but are you really, in a way?
Yeah, it's something I've seen in the industry, and it's interesting because this is a profession that I deeply care about. I see it as one of the greatest professions on the planet, true, authentic coaching. And because of certain organizations, media, things that have happened, the perception of the industry can become twisted because of a change in perception of what a coach is or who a coach is, and it doesn't reflect the true nature of the profession. But like any industry, you get those that operate authentically and those that don't. So that's what's helped me to see it, because lawyers, doctors, accountants, you get those that operate authentically and those that don't. You see in any industry, and coaching is no different. But that's why there's as I was saying, a rising tide raises all boats. So the more coaches that are operating with this service and love and authenticity, and there's nothing wrong with wanting money. There's nothing wrong with wanting money. You can want money, but come from a place of service and not be doing it because you want the money.
Yeah, I agree
right?
with that. I agree.
Yeah. So it's okay to feel that way, because I remember when I first started, I used to feel dirty, and I had all these stories about money in my mind where, oh, it's not okay to want to be paid, like I had all this stuff in my head. So I had to drop a lot of those money stories and money beliefs that I had, and it's still also I'm also a continuous work in progress. As the document shows, it's something I'm continuously working on. But that's why it's so important, if you're really taking a stand for your industry, whatever industry that is, leading by example and not giving attention to all of the noise, that's going to create waves. So I speak to people all the time. It happens a lot where I'll speak to someone, they say, you restored my belief in coaching, right? Or, wow, like, just from speaking to you, I now see the value in coaching. And this is what we need more of in the world, where people are having these experiences from those authentic service-based coaches.
Who are the coaches that you look up to the most, or have maybe transformed you the most? Because I know you sent me a list with some people that seem really cool. I looked into a few of them.
I've learned a lot from various coaches and mentors, but ones that I've seen that have done amazing things for the industry and operates in a very powerful way. Steve Hardison, he is known as the ultimate coach. He actually recently retired, but he's had an entire life of just deeply serving other people. Steve Chandler, he was known as the godfather of coaching, another great example. I like Michael Neal. Rich Litvin's done some great work. I learned a lot from him too. And one of my previous coaches, Ankush Jain, he's doing some amazing work with the industry too. So those are a few different coaches that I've learned a lot from.
Is there any experience when you've been coached and that's... Because I'm sure it happens all the time, but is there maybe a recent one where one of your coaches has told you something that has maybe had, let's say, a slightly bigger shift or adjustment or change in how you operate or how you view things?
No, it happened last week, so I'll share.
Go for it, that's good timing.
I'll share that one.
Go for it.
So I'm currently working with a coach called Townsend Wardlaw. He's another coach I'll add to that list, by the way. Absolutely phenomenal, powerful coach. And I was talking to him about how I've seen that there are so many people I might have met, wherever they go, they just seem to be amazing at enrolling others, amazing at connecting and essentially like creating opportunities wherever they go. Now, I know I've done that, but I felt like there was quite a gap between me and seeing all these other enrollers that wherever they go, they just seem to enroll anyone into anything. And then, in essence, what he was saying is, well, what if you're the greatest enroller? He wasn't saying I am, he was saying what if. And when he was saying that, I thought, what if all this time I've been spending like my attention looking everywhere elsewhere but at myself? Because if I'm constantly seeking outside of myself, thinking everyone has something I don't, and I need to like get it, what if I just turned it into me and thought, what if I am actually the greatest enroller, and started to feed that within myself? And all these cogs started turning. I realized in many different areas, sometimes I might look outside of myself when in actual reality, if I'm actually seeing that this is about waking up to who we are, what if we are the greatest enroller, the greatest this, the greatest that? We're just projecting it outside of ourselves.
How did, have you changed, have there been any behavioural changes in what you do since hearing that?
literally since that happened this a week ago, I notice wherever I'm going now, I'm seeing that, oh, like, I am the connector, I am the enroller. And I mean, this week as an example, I had so many more people book in time with me because of that, because I was operating differently. So it's already happening, but the thing about insights is like, there's like a ripple. So it's been like a week, but I know that this is something that's going to be within my psyche now for quite some time, and it's in the forefront of my awareness, so I'll just keep implementing.
Would you add that to your document?
The line in my document is, I'm a master of enrollment.
There you go.
It's already there. It's
But you just weren't fully living it.
Yeah, I just wasn't living it. And as I said, it's a work in progress.
What are other areas in your document that you feel you're not fully living?
There's a line, I am bold, audacious, and no BS. Sometimes that comes out, sometimes I'll notice a bit of holding back. So I would say in most of the lines in my document, this is why I see it as a practice, because I created it.
It's a journey forever.
Yeah,
it's a lifelong journey.
I created it 2 years ago. In those 2 years, I'm being my document way more now than I was when I first created it. So if I practice this for 10 years, I know that who I am in 10 years compared to 2 years and when I first started is also going to be exponentially different, because it's that continuous practice for decades. But a document can also change. So not like a thing where you're always always chopping and changing it whenever you want. That defeats the purpose. But in a couple of years, I might revisit and think, oh, like perhaps there could be a newer document that will be a better reflection of where I am now.
Why is the document not just, quote, I am, end quote?
Oh, because I am that?
As in just like you are?
Oh, that's the entire document?
Just like I am?
Well, I like that you said that, because my document has about 30 declarations, but it's all rooted in the I am. Like, if we see it as just I am, complete, done, it does sum it up. It's just the document helps be very intentional about what you're feeding. So I like that you said that.
No, I also bring it up because be super transparent. I'm not meditating these days right now. I'm not reading affirmations. I don't even think I'm being super intentional about who I'm being in states like this. But for some reason, I don't know what it is, the last, let's say 2-3 months, maybe since the start of this year, I've just felt so at one with myself. Stuff just starts to feel really easy. I meet who I want to, I mean, you've seen it firsthand.
Yeah.
I meet who I want to meet easily, men, women. I go to where, life seems really easy for me right now. Even though it's not fully how I want it to be, let's say. But you know this, I'm going to launch a coaching offer. And I think it's going to be easy. Maybe it's pure delusion. But I don't know why. I don't even know why I'm bringing it up. More of an observation of myself.
It's all a reflection of who you are.
It's fun. I think, for me, just to share, something that really changed my whole perspective is just really I don't know how to describe how fully and how genuinely, but fully being okay with just being myself and viewing myself as one of one. And I date some pretty nice people, and this is something really funny. Recent example, I'm dating someone who's they're a model. They've got tens of thousands of followers on Instagram. Flowers get sent to their house just randomly by dudes, someone that a lot of people would want to be with. And not just her, but other people too. The compliment I've gotten the most over the last few months is not, oh, you're so handsome, or oh, you're so jacked, or oh, you're so... any of this stuff, because I'm honestly just a normal guy. I am funny, but it's that I'm special, and it made me laugh because I'm just told like, oh, you're so special, and the reason I say that is because I believe that when you come from a state of just true, okay, I am me and that's okay and I'm one of one, these people, so I'm talking from the dating perspective, these people that normally, like the person I'm dating right now, last boyfriend was like famous basketball coach, one before like big fitness influencer, drove like a Rolls Royce Cullinan, like, you know, and I'm younger than this person. And yet here I am and I'm just told I'm special. Why is that? It's because on like normal life metrics, I'm not comparable. Because I truly, fully view myself as one of one. And if you don't want to be with me, that's okay. But if you want, I'm here, you know? That's been my biggest paradigm shift. Paradigm shift.
That's huge, and you feel it. Like even when I met you, there was like that centeredness, you know, and it's almost a magnetic kind of energy.
Maybe it was spiked.
Yeah. Maybe.
Don't drink that.
Is this why you bring people on it?
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, you're on a roof. You get spiked or jump.
This is what we see when we're kids, though. There's this like, I'm amazing. I'm me. I'm the best. Not in like a.
Well, it doesn't have to come from an arrogant perspective.
Not from a like I'm better than you thing. More
It
just
doesn't
like,
have to be ego driven.
yeah, just more from like like I'm so happy that I am who I am.
Why do you think people lose it? The SAS, you know what I mean? It's the satanic entertainment system.
I've not heard that one before. I've not heard that one before.
I heard it recently, but I thought it was funny. Well, I think it's social programming.
Yeah.
I think like constant social programming. It's like what I said before. You know, you're told you are this person. You're this person. You have this job. You're from this place. You know, all of these things. Even like me, I go. There's a networking event here in Dubai that I've been a few times to, and everyone stands up. You're supposed to introduce yourself at the start. And everyone stands up and they're like, oh, I'm this and I do this, and blah, 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 a bit about me. I remember once I was sitting there, and I think this is a bit after I kind of had this realization. And I was like, this is kind of bullshit, because if I say, oh, I'm this person that does this thing, you don't actually want to get to know me for me. You want to get to know me for what I can do for you. And I don't like that. I don't like that. So I said, hi, I'm Pierre. If you want to get to know me, come say hi. That like super mysterious, and it worked so well. And also it's funny because I think 90% of my friends here don't even know what I do. Do you even know what I do day to day?
Barely.
Like no one. Like, I mean, some of you probably think I'm a criminal. I swear to God, like no one knows what I do day to day because I don't talk about it because it doesn't have any bearing or weight on who I am. And because of that, I have this like playful, light energy, which helps me attract people. Sorry, I think I cut you off, but it's what people need to kind of go back to. I think it's who are you?
Yeah, it's like this is why this identity concept has been so powerful for me. Like the reason I talk about it is because I keep seeing it within myself. But it's not about sticking to this, like sticking to a particular identity. It's about seeing that it's a malleable, changeable, fluid thing. This is why when people say, like, I'm an introvert, I'm an extrovert, I am this star sign, I am Pisces and Moon, Saturn, like, whatever's happening, and then they say I'm like this because of this. It might seem convincing, but there's actually a lot more fluidity to our state than we realize. So that's why the identity conversation has been so insightful for me, because I keep seeing how who I am is this ever fluid, ever changeable thing that can just take on the form that it needs to take.
Do you feel fully confident in who you are?
A lot more than I used to. I'd say I'm in the most present, self-assured place I've ever been. Way more compared than I used to because of all the work I've done in the last few years. Which is why, even say, example with dating, I don't feel the need to chase or go with certain types of girls. I'm just very comfortable attracting the kind of person I'd want to be with, just based on who I am and who they are. But I also know that it's just the beginning. And I see that even though there's been so much progress, I know there's still room to live into more.
Why do you think it's so attractive to have this deep-rooted confidence in who you are? I've got my thoughts on it too.
A couple of thoughts come to mind. One is when someone is in that energy within themselves, where they're just authentically themselves, it's almost like you could say like an unconscious reminder of what's within the other person. There's like a gravity to it, because they see that it's like a reminder for what's in them, even if they don't realize it. The other thing is there's like a magnetic pull, because there's a conviction, there's a safety. And if someone is just so authentically them, there's nothing to hide, there's no agendas, they're just very present within themselves, and it's a very inviting, safe energy to be around.
I think it's really cool, and I echo. I actually had a recent thought on it, which is partly why I brought it up. I thought of this analogy, which is that in relationships, the reason why having that core, like deep, true confidence is so important is because I like to view relationships as you are your person in your life, and you can think of yourself as a captain on a ship, right? And this like completely dwarfs any other paradigm of working on like wealth or status or money. Like all of that stuff can work, but it's superficial. This is the deep thing that actually truly works in anywhere. If you're this captain on this boat, and when you invite someone into your life, which is to become your partner, romantic relationship, they're joining you on this boat, right, as a passenger, and you're the captain steering this ship. Now, let's say there are different options. There are different ships. You've got like the really blingy ship. There's the ship that's like 6'3" and jacked and whatever. There's the ship that has the Rolls-Royce Cullinan. There's the ship that, has all these materialistic things, like really successful career or is really handsome ship, let's say. And then there's your ship. And your ship's a bit ratty. It's a bit crap, right? Let's just say that that's where you are right now. But you on this ship have such a strong confidence that you're on your mission, that you have your purpose, that whatever comes in your life, whatever storms you may face, you're going to get through it. And you're going to steer this ship through the storm. If you have such a strong self-internal belief, this person is going to be okay with you on this ship, even though it's not as blingy as the one next door, or even though it's not as, I don't know, like 6'3", the other ship, or whatever else, like whatever other ship, because this person that's joining you on your ship, they'd rather be on a worse ship with a better captain than the best ship in the world, but the captain, as soon as the seas are a bit rough, the captain just freaks out and it's like, oh crap. That's super unattractive. There's like an analogy I thought about a lot, and I think why it's also cool is because there are a lot of children or people out there that, you meet them in Dubai, they've been given so much material wealth like that for free, and, well, not for free, but without any effort, let's say. And what happens is you haven't actually truly worked on, like, you've got like the blingy ship, but you're actually a crap captain. So as soon as like the choppy waves come, you just crash and die. And what happens? Then you end up attracting bullshit women into your life. You end up attracting bullshit people into your life, and you get fleeced for your money, right? I've thought a lot about that, and I really think it's so true that really what you need, but the only thing that matters is that confidence. Well, it's not the only thing. All the other stuff is good. You should work on it over time, but you should do that for yourself. And that's not actually what's going to attract your ideal partner. That was one of the biggest paradigm shifts I had recently.
I love it. That's a huge one. And I like that you talked about how in Dubai you see these people that have the bling and have this and that, but the internal is missing.
Well, it's funny because I came to the realization because, I mean, look, not long ago I go to a dinner, I'm by far the poorest person at this table. And yet everyone at the table really enjoyed spending time with me. But it's because I don't give a shit. I'm on my journey. I know I'm talking about money here. I know I'm going to make a boatload of cash. I know, like, I'm so confident I know I'm gonna, you know, become in better and better shape. I know I'm gonna become wiser and wiser and funnier and funnier and all these things. I know it's just gonna come, and that's fine. So if you want to be me right now, with me right now, that's cool. But like, I'm confident, and because of that deep-rooted confidence, that's like that's really what brings out this like magnetic aura, I think, which is so attractive, and that's what like guys and girls want to hang around with.
You see it in like, even outside of relationships, when someone has such a deep conviction. This happens on both, let's say, the good and the bad.
Yep.
When someone has a deep conviction, it's alluring. You know, like a lot of these leaders, change makers, even classic examples of people like Gandhi or MLK or Hitler, they had such conviction that people were pulled by it. It's not about, so it's more about the deeper conviction you're talking about. Of course, the message can be done differently for different reasons, but the conviction's there.
Well, it's true, and I also realized that, or I had the recent realization that a lot of people like to be led because it's just easier. I've had this too in my life, where I've been. I think I was in London not long ago, and I was with a friend, and he was like, "Oh, okay, we'll go on a night out," and I was like, "Just lead it. Just, I don't want to think. I just want to I just want to be along for the ride, almost." It's quite nice to be led sometimes, being in that other position. But what it also means is it's also quite easy to lead. And if you put yourself in those leadership positions, you know, you put yourself at the center, and like subconsciously or consciously, whatever, like people, you know, like you're the natural lead, like people come to you. People, that's like another way to create this like gravity almost, you know, literally just being like hosting cool things, like, oh, we're doing this, we're doing that. And you see me firsthand. I'm not talking out my ass. I do this. You know, I'm just like, I want to do this. And like, you know, like last Friday, I want to like give to charity, and just text a bunch of friends, like a bunch of people turn up, we got some money, and just, you know, do it.
You don't need to be special to be a leader.
You don't.
Yeah.
You just need to be okay with who you are.
Yeah. I remember the concept of leading and leadership used to seem like such a big deal. Like such a big, like, you know, you have to be this like special person to be a leader. Growing up, that's what I thought. I would never see myself as the leader. I would always think it's like in someone else. And then over time, as I just naturally, and of course working on raising my own self-awareness, doing the work, taking actions, without realizing it, that was leading. It's just, I realized anyone can do it.
Well, we lead ourselves throughout our lives.
Yeah.
But we just don't realize it.
Yeah.
I said this on a reel the other day. It's like, it's almost, I truly believe this, I think it's almost selfish to not be who you authentically are. Because if you view yourself as a light that just wants to spread energy, and if you just view yourself as a light that wants to spread positivity and energy, and you detach yourself from ego and you detach yourself from outcome, and you just try and think and operate from win-win situations, it's selfish to not share that with the world. Because you're holding other people back from this beautiful light, you know?
This reminds me of, I don't always see this. When I get caught up in my ego, I miss it. But when I'm more in alignment, I'm seeing it. It's like stuff is just coming through me. It's like it's not me, it's just coming through me.
You're like a vessel.
Vessel, exactly. So all of this is, it's almost like I didn't choose this. It just came through me. Like even when I'm coaching people, sometimes I don't plan to think or say what I'm about to say. It just comes through. So it literally is like being a vessel, but when I'm getting caught up in my overthinking or getting caught up in egoic fear and insecurity, then I lose sight of it. But that's why it's a continuous practice, like a continuous dance between the ego and the spirit that is coming through.
What do you do when you realize you're in a state of ego?
Now, I focus more on the noticing. You can do it at any moment. Like, this is one of the reasons I stopped meditating for a while. I do it now, but not as extensively as I used to. But you can do it at any moment. You can, as soon as you begin to notice what you're experiencing, the ego is a bit like a a trickster, a fooler, someone who's playing some magic show on you, and we get lost and caught up in these lower states of being or thinking or feeling when we're simply believing the trickster.
Don't worry, it's fine.
When we're believing the trickster. So if I begin noticing the ego, noticing the trickster, then it starts to lose its power, because I'm now noticing it, and there's a separation that's created. And in that separation, I'm no longer being tricked, because I've caught it. I've caught the trickster, I've caught you out, I can see you, haha, there you are, and I don't need to listen to you. And it even becomes a bit lighter and playful from that place, because it becomes like, oh, like, I caught my ego today, there you are, rather than being in the storm of it. But it is a practice, because sometimes I don't always notice it straight away, and it takes a couple of hours, sometimes a couple of days. But it definitely happens less. The gap between noticing and not noticing has closed a lot since I've begun this journey, because of constantly looking in the direction of changing that relationship I have with my thoughts.
When you say changing the relationship you have with your thoughts, is the counter argument that, or I don't know how to phrase this, but isn't the best state to just not be thinking at all?
We're thinking creatures. Like human beings think.
But do we have to?
If we see thoughts as simply a way that we experience our world, that's what I mean by think.
Okay.
It's like, I can't experience this setting right now without thoughts. It's like a gift we've been given, thoughts, but then you get the side of it which is like the overthinking and the overanalysis and the egoic thinking.
So what's the difference between just present experience and thinking? Because this might be like a communication thing of me not understanding fully.
Okay.
You see what I mean?
Yeah. So presence and having that clear mind, you could say it's a state of no thoughts, but just like, as you can see in this, even you'll see it in the camera, but like the sky, sometimes you'll have that clear skies and then the clouds will pass through. So thoughts are always going to be there. Even if you're an enlightened monk, thoughts will still pass through, but they're just no longer becoming as identified with it.
What are do you work on your presence a lot?
I do. I keep it as like a conscious intention.
Because you said you used to meditate a lot.
When I was in that place of being lost, meditation really helped me to get quiet and to listen to my inner wisdom, to kind of let all the chatter pass. But when I began seeing that we can actually notice our thoughts and not get as caught up in them in any moment, it stopped making as much sense to have to meditate. I do it now just as like a practice to start my day, but I'm seeing that we can be in that meditative state without always having to sit down and meditate.
It's funny you say that, because I thought I used to meditate. I told you I'm not meditating right now. And then I thought about this, because I don't know who I was listening to on YouTube, but they were talking about an experience they had, which was they went to like a monk retreat, or it was like some type of like meditation retreat, and then they were friends with the guy leading the meditation, and then got in the car, and the dude leading this whole like meditation retreat got really pissed off with like the traffic. It was something like that, and this guy was so zen and so present and at one, like on the mountain, but then as soon as I actually are thrown into the real life, like everyday life, kind of like it went away. Which is why I've also kind of come to the realization of, I think it's very good to meditate and practice within like meditative practices, whatever you want to call it, enhance your presence, because it's kind of like going to the gym, or like it's like practicing MMA in a fight, like in the ring. But really, like when it really matters is in your day to day, and trying to like bring yourself back to now, into the moment, and living through that present experience, and not getting caught up and not getting really angry and frustrated and into your ego, into your mind with these with whatever comes into your head. That's like the hard thing. Do you have any practices that you could recommend, or maybe your coaches have recommended to you on how do you build that deeper presence when just like living day to day? I know I've asked a very hard question.
No, this is actually quite a simple one.
Go for it.
There's nothing to do. What I mean by that is, I was so like mind blown when I saw this, but as I began actually seeing, is this true, and trying it myself, I saw it was true. So try it for yourself, but it's our natural states to be in peace and clarity. We just interfere with the process by clinging to and holding on to thought that passes through. But because our mind has a natural buoyancy, inbuilt, innate, it's always trying to go back to the natural state of being clear. But we delay the process when we're engaging with our thoughts. So when I say there's nothing to do, I mean we don't actually need to do as much with our thoughts as we think. Like if we're not trying to do so much with our thoughts, they naturally just pass, and then we come back to our clear state again. So it's withdrawing the effort and just waiting for the mind to come back again.
I quite like that. I didn't think of that. What really excites you with what you're doing right now? Where's the most excitement you have in your life right now?
I'm always excited about the people that I'm serving.
I'm flattered.
So of course, I get lit up by everyone that I work with. They inspire me so much, and they're always up to some amazing things. But outside of that, I'm really excited about actually just putting time and attention into things that I find fun. Things like taking care of myself, playing tennis, paddle, going to the gym, spending time with... I've spent so much quality time with friends since I've been in Dubai. It's just been wonderful. And I knew when I first started, I actually neglected those areas of my life. I would not spend time with friends. I wouldn't do the sports I find fun. All these areas of my life became neglected because for some reason I thought I had to just put everything into working. But I realized that didn't need to be true. So I'm seeing how if I can see it every day as just having fun, like with whatever I'm doing, then that's a nice place to be.
And now that you're living in a more balanced state, how's your life improved?
Just a more general enjoying of the journey. Right? It's like I spent a long time seeking and feeling like I had to get somewhere, but now it's more just seeing it as I am where I need to be, and I'm having fun in the process.
For me, it's so funny. Me getting this motorbike, this is a genuine death trap, actually changed my perspective on life. Because what it did for me is it reminded me. So this bike has no ABS, it has no traction control, and it has 200 horsepower. Which, jokes aside, means that there's a non-zero chance I will die on it. And because I drive on it everywhere, every time I get on, it goes through my head, you could die today. Which sounds pretty fucked up, and you don't need to do this to have this realization. Just listen to me, live vicariously. But in a way, it's been really liberating, because I'm like, because I could die today, I better make the most of it. And that's why I don't hold myself back. I like to say I start every morning like Monday morning, and end every day like Friday night. I love that phrase because it's true, and it's sad, but like genuinely true. Your time is not guaranteed. I'm on this journey that I think is really cool right now. I love the experience and the quality of my life, but I don't know how long I'm here for, so I might as well make the most of it.
Like that you said that. I think that's one of the reasons losing my father has led to a lot of these experiences afterwards, because I saw that our time is not guaranteed. So yeah, there's this classic saying or question, when are you going to stop living like you're never going to die? Because it's easy to think, oh yeah, we have time. Who knows?
What are you putting off today? What you should... is there something you're putting off today that you know you need to be doing? or that you wanted to be doing, and you're like, I'll do it later?
Yes. One thing I do want to do is get into serving organizations and corporates, because I've seen it. I've seen how there's so many leaders, teams, ways that organizations operate that aren't helping them, right? Whether it's their mental health, whether it's leaders feeling like they can't be themselves, have to hide, or have to communicate a certain way. There's so much. And I've been wanting to do this for a while. I just haven't actually put in the action and the intention into speaking to these organizations.
Guess what? I'm going to connect you after this. Okay. There you go. Well, you put it out there. You put it into the universe. There's someone I can connect you to. You put it into the universe, and it opens like a warp.
What do you see as the service that you want to have in the world?
I just want to help people. Like, I genuinely mean that. That's why I struggled with finding my niche and what am I going to like serve, because I don't want to, similar to you, I don't want to I don't want to pigeonhole myself. I've done so much in the sense that I've experienced so much. I can relate with a lot of people. I don't know. I just want to raise the vibration of everyone around. I've always been like that with my friends. I feel like I've always tried to be positive and tried to like lift people up around me, genuinely. But now I want to start putting that out there more and helping people that I don't know, that aren't my direct friends. And I originally started helping out my buddies because maybe you can view this as selfish, but I'm going to be rich one day and I don't want to be lonely and rich at the top alone, you know? It would be fun to like do that with my buddies. I want to be, like 60, 70, smoking cigar with all my friends, and we're like, oh, we made it together, just like on my ivory tower. I don't want to just be up my ivory tower all alone, which I see a lot of people here who are like that. So I think that's where it started, and then much more recently I kind of had all these, let's say, affirmative experiences that are like, no, you can actually help people, and that comes from me just living a life that I think a lot of people want to live, and being fully myself, and I don't know, I just want to share this expansive light that I feel.
I see that in you, man.
Thank you.
I'm excited for the people you're going to serve.
Me too. I think it's fun. It's cool. I think my biggest fear is like having someone and not being able to actually help them. And when I realized that was my biggest fear, I realized I should probably do this, because that's probably, I know it's going to work. Like, it's what I said before. I get frustrated that there's people, they just sell. They're great salespeople, but they don't, the execution, the fulfillment's not there. But because I care about fulfillment, and my biggest fear is around fulfillment, then it's like, you probably do a pretty good job, They say that I went to a conference not long ago, and there was this like really big coach on there she actually coaches mothers to be better mothers. And she said that whenever a mother asks, or whenever a mother's biggest worry is that they're not a good enough mother, they're a good mother.
Oh yeah.
I just had this thought now. But yeah.
Yeah, you're focusing on being great at what you do, and nothing can replace that.
But that's what I like about you, because you said all these coaching resources, and it's all like, no, it's an art, it's a journey. And I'm going to put this out there, but something I'm going to start hosting in Dubai is I'm going to start doing public speaking, personal development events. I'm actually a bit frustrated that a lot of this stuff is paywalled. I don't actually think it should be. So I want to host events for free where we get a bunch of people together, entrepreneurs, people in personal development, and you're going to be invited. I'll start next week after next. Next week, sorry. And we'll have people go up one by one, and they can share some of their journey in a public speaking format, in front of a group, in front of an audience, to practice their public speaking. They can share some of their journey that has helped them, or an experience that has transformed them. So for example, you can share like this experience of the one that you had last week, for example, because maybe that can raise the vibration and help someone else. And then what I want to do is have feedback loops, so I can give feedback and the audience can give feedback on how you presented that, and can you like better communicate that lesson and learning that you had to better raise the vibration. And then also what's going to happen is, if we can help you better communicate in a public speaking format, what's going to happen over time? You're going to be able to better serve and better communicate your ideas and thoughts to other people. So I see it as win-win, and I want to do that.
So many ripple effects. From
Yeah,
that.
it's cool.
Yeah.
It's cool. Okay, we're getting free. We're really getting cold. So thank you for tuning in to Pandora's Box. Where can people find you?
Instagram at The Ascension Coach, LinkedIn as well, just my full name, Kamil Ravine. Those are the two best platforms to find me on.
What about YouTube?
YouTube, I've
You just started like focusing on
Yes,
YouTube.
I've created a channel sharing so many of the insights, things that have really served me in my own journey to share value. So you can find my channel, my name, Kamil Ravine, and what she called it, not the tag, the headline, the
Name.
the name, yeah, the Ascension Coach.
The Ascension Coach. I'm Pierre Alada. This is Pandora's Box. We're freezing, so thanks a lot, and see you on the next one.